Hey folks, SoloGamer here, and we're going to be talking about a new game this week, and we're talking about Dark, Darker, Darkest. Relatively new game, came out not that long ago. First off, I'd like to say that I did not get this game off of Kickstarter. I'm not a big fan of Kickstarter for several reasons. Too much to get into right now. So let's just say I'm not a big fan of Kickstarter and leave it at that. I did get it off eBay. I got this game off eBay for a good price. And it came both with the regular board game and the Kickstarter special. This game has been described from people I've heard, it's called Resident Evil in a box. They're about right. It's basically Resident Evil meets Mansions of Madness. Let's talk about the publishing company. It's made by Queen Games. Now, Queen Games here, I don't know much about them. I know they don't have a website to support their product. I know for the Kickstarter thing, a lot of people are still waiting. Let's just say that a lot of the comments about this game for the Kickstarter people aren't that good. They're still waiting for some stuff. Stuff did come missing, and in the Kickstarter special, I think the radioactive thing was missing a couple components, like the red cubes and some Nemesis boards, and then the light and the dark expansion, the tokens and rules. And I've even heard that they're really even not going to do anything. You just got a bag of glow-in-the-dark zombies, and that's it. So as far as customer service and access goes to their website, I'm going to have to give that an F, because, you know, like I said, there are people still complaining about it. But, you know, when you buy from Kickstarter, that's one of the risks. I'm sorry, it is. If you can't get all your product out when you say you're going to, you need to just tell everybody, hey, we're going to delay it and not ship it with some missing products. That being said, what's missing really doesn't affect that much. Not much at all, really. And you can find ways to play without the missing stuff. So now we're going to talk about the components. And the components for the game, I'm probably going to have to give a C, and I'm going to tell you why. The zombie miniatures, as you'll see, are not as good, big, detailed as I expected. The miniatures for Zombicide are a lot better, and the monster miniatures for this game are not as good as I expected. I just expected a little bit better. For as high as pricey as this game was, you know, I just did. I probably won't even paint my miniatures. I mean, they're like the cheap plastic. It's like the Zombies game from Twilight Creations. They're of that nature. But as far as the rest of the stuff goes, the tiles, the board, the player cards and stuff like that, those are pretty good. Those are decent stock. So again, I'm gonna have to give this game a C on this one for the components. Maybe a C plus. Okay. To make it a B would stretch it, because the tiles, a lot of them are just they're nicely detailed, but a lot of them are kind of like almost kind of like the same, I guess you would say. There's no big variety. And as you'll see when we show you the board. Gameplay, that's going to have to get a C as well. There are a lot of mechanics in this game. It's like this game tried too hard or overachieved to put so much stuff in there and tried to be so unique that kind of botched things a little bit. You're constantly rolling the dice in this game. Constantly. So, you're going to spend a lot of time in this game rolling the dice. And a whole bunch of different types of dice. You got all kinds of different dice. And that's another part of the thing. You have all these symbols in this game, which you're going to have to, after a couple playthroughs, you're going to be able to remember. But man, there are a lot of symbols in this game. You're constantly having to look at the chart to see what this symbol means. You know, that sort of thing. There's also a big, gigantic upkeep phase where most games nowadays are heading away from the upkeep phase. This one makes it even bigger. And that's why they give you this player tracker board to help you keep up with things. Jeez. But as you'll see, there's a lot of time spent in your upkeep phase doing this check, doing that check, doing this check, spawning this, spawning that. So I don't know. I mean, it's mechanics wise. Well, I'll get back to that in a little bit. And there's a lot of tokens you have to keep up with and that kind of stuff. So the gameplay wise, I'd have to give this game a C as well. It's just a lot of stuff that could have been streamlined to make it better. So I know what you're saying. Hey man, do you have anything good to say about this game? Well, yes I do. Theme. Theme. This game oozes theme. And that is probably the best thing about this game, is the theme. You really feel like you are in a spooky mansion, monsters everywhere, and this game is hard. Don't get me wrong. This game is very hard. I've only played it a couple times. I've not won yet, and so if I mess up on a few little rules things or forget something, please forgive me for that. But this game is very hard. But the theme of it is great. I mean, the theme is what really saves this game. I've seen a lot of reviews for this game. This game's usually getting in the mid-range, somewhere between 6, 7, sometimes even 5 out of 10. I probably would give it a 7 as well. And the thing with this game is it's a diamond in the rough when it could have been a diamond. There are a couple expansions for this game, but they're like mini expansions. A lot of them just really don't add much to it. The biggest one is the zombies and the radiation one, which we'll be playing with in this game, but we're going to tweak some of the rules. But this game is a diamond in the rough, and you have to keep that in mind if you want to try to get this game or invest in it. Now, if I will say this, if Darkest came out with any other expansions or something like that, I would probably buy it, because I have invested in this game now. But be aware, if you invest in this game is going to... It looks really good. You look at the box, cooperative survival horror, but it doesn't live up to the hype. That's not saying it's a bad game. It's just this. I think this game, a lot of people expected a lot more out of it, and it kind of shot its own self in the foot. And you'll see when we play some of the deals with the game and some of the problems I have with it. So we'll get this game set up, loaded up, and we're going to go over some of the rules and components. There are a lot of rules and components, so we're not going to touch all of them at one time. We're going to probably touch on a lot of them as we play. So that being said, we'll pause it and come right back. Okay, as you can see, we got a whole bunch of stuff here for this game, and we'll start with the obvious. We have our zombies, and you have a bunch of different kind of zombies, and let's take a look at some of the detail. Okay, there is detail. Now, it's not bad detail, but this is like a lightweight plastic, and it's just, I don't know, it's not the caliber zombie side. You have different zombies, and some of these different zombies are supposed to mean different things, but we're probably just gonna, I play it a little different, and I'll show you when we play. Then you're gonna notice one of the big bugaboos on this game, which is really weird, is these little cubes. You got all these different cubes everywhere, and you use these cubes to keep track of stuff on your players, and it makes this game look like something out of the 70s, to be honest with you, with all these little cubes. They could have did better than this cube stuff. I don't know what to tell you on that. So anyways, we're playing with 4 players, and our first player is Bunny Van Camp. We got Chuck Lee, Bruce Romero, Nina Argento, and we'll go over each of them when we play the game, our first round. We have a whole bunch of dice, and God, this game came with a gigantic bag of dice. We have a 4-sided dice, some 6-sided dice. You have these zombie dice, which are glow in the dark, which are kind of pretty cool. You have your player dice, then you have your terror die, and we'll go over what each of these things mean when we use them. Each character starts out with their starting item, and we have the ammo and stuff like that on there. And like I said, we'll go over that, what that means when we play. Then you have your event tracker thing, which helps you keep track of all the phases during the upkeep phase. And as you can see, you have all these different phases. Now I am playing with the radiation expansion, so I put the radiation marker on 5, and I modified the board, so I need more than 5 rounds before the game ends, so I expanded it to 7, and you'll see why in a second. Here's our code combination thing. You gotta have these codes right that are up there to unlock the laboratory door, and you do that by unlocking doors in the house and getting the codes. Now I'll explain that. Here's our nemesis. Now I randomly shuffle these, and one of these, we're going to take the top one, and if we ever get to the bad guy, the main bad guy of the game, and have a showdown with it, which we're going to flip this when we have a showdown, and it's going to be different on the back side. It's kind of like a Showdown and Touch of Evil, or when you fight the Ancient One in Arkham Horror. So I do not know who our bad guy in this one's going to be. We have our creatures, and we shuffle these and randomly place them. There can only be one creature in the game at a time. Our radiation tokens, fire tokens, we have our virus tokens. If you get bit, you get one of these, and each person can only carry 5 items, and it replaces one of your items. And if you get 2, you become infected and start losing skills, and if you don't get the antidote soon enough, then you will bite the dust. Our entrap tokens, and that basically is if you are entrapped by a zombie, you put that under you and you can't move. You got to either kill the zombies, or somebody has to free you in order to get free. Then you have your antidote token. That's what we're looking for. That's the whole goal of this game, is to get into the laboratory, fight the nemesis, get the antidote, and before the game ends. We have our zombie horde tokens. It's kind of like a monster cup. And during the game, we will be placing these little zombie tokens on the board, and you put them face down like this. And if you can see them in your line of sight, or they see you in your line of sight, then you flip it over, and it tells you how many zombies to put on there. Like this one says 3. Some of these have special things, like there's a chomper one there, and that's a special type of zombie. This is from the little mini expansion, the zombies, and so we have incorporated this into this game as well. And here are our cards. Now, as you can see, here's our board, and you have cameras over here, and we'll go over camera checks when the time has come. And some of these boards have little symbols on them, and we'll go over them, what they mean. And basically the game is set up. You have your 4 corner rooms here. You try to get locks, and on the back of these locks they have like these symbols, see, and you try to, in order to open this lock, you have to have equipment cards, and the equipment cards have to have symbols. Like this combat knife right here has a symbol of the cross. Well, if Nina can open this lock if she has this card, and let's say she were to have this decontamination kit, then she could open this because she has one of 2 cards. Like this would be her card as well. She would have that symbol on that card and that symbol on that card, so she could open the door. And since we are playing with the radiation expansion, Chuck Lee is going to be our decontamination guy, so he comes with a decontamination kit. Okay. So as you can see, and here's the radiation room, and this right here is the laboratory where we get the antidote. In order to get in here, we have to find the combination using the key codes, and you enter the key codes when you go to one of these little terminals in one of these other corner rooms, and then this door open. You only have a set time limit to do that, though. Now I know some people are saying is, hey, wait a minute, your board is all wrong. You got too many tiles on there. Yes, I do. The instructions for the game say to do a 4x5 grid. That means you would have 4 tiles, 1, 2, 3, 4 rows of 5. Now, if you get the Kickstarter special, you get a lot of extra tiles. So I like to use all the extra tiles. Now that 4x5 kind of makes the mansion a little small. and it can be very claustrophobic, and you're saying, well, that's probably a good thing. But see, I like Resident Evil, and that whole mansion is big, so I wanted to make this whole thing bigger, and I just modified a few tweaks on the rules to make it bigger. I made it 6 by 6, okay? And in order for me to like randomly choose a room, like when a monster spawns or zombie spawns or fire spreads or something like that, you had to roll a 4-sided die and a 6-sided die, and you would ignore the 6 if you rolled it, and then you would go like, I rolled on the 4-sided die 2, so I'd say I rolled 2, and then I rolled a 3, 1, 2, 3, and I would put a zombie spawn there. Why use these 2 6-sided dice right here, and this one will be for 2, and then you see the one with the dots, 5, and the 2 will be for what row here, and then the 5 will be for what row here. And that way, just the mansion is bigger. You can explore a lot more. It does have its drawbacks though. Because of that, you're really pressed for time, and that's why we added these 2 things here to expand our time limit to before we get in the laboratory. It used to be, if this little cube right here got onto here, the game would end, and if you hadn't gotten to the laboratory yet. But I expanded it so we have 2 more rounds because I made this thing a heck of a lot bigger. In some ways it makes it a little easier because the zombies are far away from you, they're not going to bother you, but the exploration, the mood is better. I just like the bigger mansion the better, and it works out to be harder that way, believe me. And I played it both ways, and I just like it this way, and it feels a lot more like Resident Evil and a bigger exploration instead of rolling the dice all the freaking time and doing things. So now the game is set. We put our players on our starting board, and we'll start playing, and like I said, we'll go more into detail on the rules as we come, because there's going to be plenty of them, too much to explain in one thing, and you know, it's easier to just explain them as we go. So I'll see you when we start the game.